final story tonight, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but Sean Hannity, boy, I tell you, he's something else. He seems to be one of the few people that's willing to have conversations with some of the candidates that mainstream media or liberal media doesn't really want to focus too much on. For example, he's interviewed Marianne Williamson multiple times. He's interviewed Cornel West multiple times. He seems to be a little bit more willing to have those discussions with people that other networks seem to want to, let's not give them too much attention. And he's interviewed Cornel West before, but there was something different about this particular interview. And I think Sean Hannity got under Cornel West's skin a little bit more so this time around than before. Now, one of the things that they're talking about, of course, is this issue with Gaza. You guys know Dr. West, for the longest time, has been on the side of the Palestinian struggle. Like, he has been vocal about this. He was prevented from receiving tenure at Harvard University because he said, no, we need to respect the Palestinian people. So Harvard didn't want to give him tenure. People should have known back then that Harvard was who Harvard was responding to Zionism, right? So Dr. West was someone that had it right before October 7th. And there are others that have had it right before October 7th. But people still speak to him in such a way as though he doesn't know what he's talking about. So let's always remember the people who were right on this issue beforehand. Those of us at RBN, we were right on this issue. I wasn't always right on the issue, but once it was explained and I'd heard both sides, that's when I realized what's happening to the Palestinian people. No, that's fucked up. We started talking about this 2.5 years ago. Here's Cornel West once again having to defend the Palestinian people. This conversation gets a little tense. Here we go.
Right, as we have been covering, Harvard President Claudine Gay resigned this week amid serious allegations of anti-Semitism, multiple allegations of plagiarism. Take a look at your screen. Here's an example of alleged plagiarism discovered by the Harvard Crimson. And here's yet another example uncovered by the Washington Free Beacon. And these are just a few of the close to 50 total allegations of plagiarism made against the Harvard president. That's President Gay. Now, yet many on the left, they are insisting that Claudine Gay was forced to resign for no reason and was the victim of racist attacks, including my next guest, Dr. Cornel West, who tweeted after Gay resigned, quote, "How sad but predictable that the same figures and forces enabling the ethnic cleansing and genocidal attacks on Palestinians in Gaza, Ackman, Blum, Summers, and others, push out the first black woman president of Harvard. This racism against both Palestinians and black people is undeniable and despicable, and I have experienced similar attacks from the same forces in academia, and too many of my colleagues remaining silent."
Let me pause here for a second. So again, he's calling out Bill Ackman, who we've called out on this channel, Blum, Summers as well. And yes, of course, Cornel West did go through the same experience. I worked at Harvard. I worked at MIT. I worked at Boston University. So I understand where he's coming from in reference to this as well. Harvard University is just, and I tell you my take on this. I really do think that we have to get out of this mindset that as African Americans, that we need to push ourselves into spaces where we know we're not welcome and we're not wanted. So when people said, like, for example, when Mark Lamont Hill said on Twitter, the next president of Harvard University needs to be a black woman, I'm like, why, if she doesn't have the support network that she needs in order to do well and be successful in that position? Why? Just so we can say that Harvard has a black female president. So those kind of things bother me. If you don't have the support network in place, then what are you doing? And at Harvard, I can tell you, a lot of people, they don't have it. They don't have it. So these institutions, in my opinion, have really never been for us. And I just don't understand why the need to try to fit ourselves into those places. me continue.
And when big money dictates university policy and raw power dictates foreign policy, the moral bankruptcy of American education and democracy looms large, but we shall remain strong in our fight for truth, justice, and love. Oh, my friend, former friend, I don't know if we're friends anymore, Dr. Cornel West, I mean, you always call me Brother Hannity, and I know you teach divinity, but Dr. West, really? This is really beneath you, if you don't mind me being very blunt. For you to go to the race card and say that Dr. Gay was pushed out because of racism, that's not why she was pushed out. You know the code of conduct as well as anybody at Harvard. You almost got tenure at Harvard. You understand it well. And you know that if similar comments about the elimination or genocide of any, quote, identity group, African Americans, people in the LGBTQ plus community, if any of these comments that were made against the Jewish people were made against other groups, you would not be saying that's racism. And she had a moment where she could have stood out and strongly condemned it and not supported it, and not said, well, it depends on the context. She would still be president today. Why?
First of all, let me go ahead and correct something that Sean Hannity said there. First of all, she did condemn it, but she didn't condemn it as far enough for people like Bill Ackman. I covered this a couple of days ago. She actually did say that they couldn't use those phrases anymore. She actually did push back against that. She actually did condemn them, but she didn't do it as fast enough as, let's be real, the Zionists wanted her to do it. That's what this is about. And it's really interesting to me that Sean Hannity was willing to have this interview and bring up this discussion about Claudine Gay, but he don't want to bring up what was just revealed about Bill Ackman's wife doing the same damn thing. So just pay attention to that. Again, going back to the story we discussed earlier, talking about who these networks are supporting and who these networks are censored by. I don't think it's just CNN, again, that is being censored by the IDF, being censored by the state of Israel. I think all of them are. So keep that in mind.
Why did you sink to this low and claim racism?
Well, I didn't sink to that level, though, brother. Let me tell you exactly what I said, and I hope you understand.
I have it in front of me
very clearly. One, no, I don't know, but I know Sister Gay. She doesn't have an anti-Semitic bone in her body. She didn't speak strong enough. I had a critique of that in the Boston Globe. It was a weak response at the Congressional Committee, but that does not mean that she's anti-Semitic. It doesn't mean she ought to resign. You know and I know there's been attempts to impose tremendous pressures on universities with big money donors dictating various conditions under which they will give, and there's been attempts to reshape universities. Now, you and I know there's orthodoxies in the universities, that I'm against all orthodoxies. There's no doubt about that. But the very notion that you think it was about plagiarism, that's window dressing. Lawrence Tribe plagiarized from Peter J. Abrams much more than she did, and he remained a prize professor at Harvard Law. Doris Kearns plagiarized. There's a whole host of folk who plagiarize and don't get this kind of vicious treatment. When she says in her notes, she's called the N-word a zillion times, racial animus, death threats, people coming at her with white supremacists attack and bombard.
Cornel,
that's what she said.
Cornel,
you going to say it had
Cornel,
nothing to do with race?
Nobody.
It had nothing to do with race, brother? Come on,
Cornel,
come on.
You know me a long time. I condemn anybody that ever said anything racist about her or to her or threatened her. That cannot exist. You're hearing that directly from me. But what you're saying here is not what you're addressing.
That means you criticize the people who were trashing her. You criticize the people who were trashing her.
No. You said it was racism that resulted in her being removed. Now, also, if you believe in rigorous academic standards, there are up to 50 allegations of her plagiarizing. Now, if a student of...
And to the point that I like to continue to bring up, the plagiarism thing isn't something that just appeared out of the blue, okay? So we cannot sit here and pretend like this hasn't happened before. Is it correct? No, it is not. But why would they let so much time go by and not report the plagiarism earlier on? Like I pointed out a couple of nights ago, and you can go watch that clip. Having worked in this field, every student that defends a dissertation has a thesis committee. The committee reads the thesis prior to the defense. So the fact that they read this thesis or skimmed through whatever they were doing, same thing in reference to Neri Oxman, who was out there copying and pasting shit from Wikipedia and put that in her thesis. Hello. The fact that they supposedly read their work and they gave them the green light to go and defend it anyway is a problem within itself. And that also points to the fact of, are these universities, the Harvards, the MITs, the Yales, etc., these elite academic institutions, are they really worth it in the long run when it comes to academic rigor? Or is it more so about networking at these institutions? Because I know people who have gone to Harvard. My best friend went to Harvard, and they will tell you that it's difficult to get into Harvard, but she'll tell you once she was there, it was not that much different from her public university that she attended. The main thing that happens at a lot of these schools is the networking. The networking. Who you can rub shoulders with. Doing those out of town trips, participating in the abroad trips while you're at Harvard. And by the way, that costs money. The university doesn't pay for that. So a lot of times, if you're not rubbing elbows with the right people, you still may not get what you want. But I would tell people, look at Harvard like this. Harvard is a networking institution. That's what it is. That's basically why a lot of people go there, so they can rub shoulders with the right people to help them get the right job. That's pretty much how it works. MIT is a little bit different because you do have to do, it's math and science based. It's a little bit different. But even there, you still want to rub shoulders with the right kind of people. So it makes people look at these universities in a different light. Are they really worth the tuition that they're charging if they can't even pick up on basic plagiarism in a thesis?
Viewers plagiarize something, I would imagine they probably get an F. I would imagine they might even be brought up for disciplinary action, maybe even kicked out of school. But the reason that she should have been disciplined here, and I don't call for firings, is because her answer was pathetic. Antifada, from the river to the sea, they're talking about eliminating an entire group of people. That is...
They're still spreading this lie. Remember what we said about the article from The Intercept. All this has been approved by the state of Israel before they go forward. So the thing is, again, guys, think about who they're speaking for. They're all repeating the same lie. Student protesters can say this over and over again. That is not what they are calling for. But mainstream media continues to repeat that lie.
That should be unacceptable, and you should be leading that charge, not blaming the people that were angered by her remarks.
I stand against any genocide, brother. I stand against the genocide of your Irish brothers and sisters. I stand against the genocide of black people. I stand against the genocide of Jews. But I also stand against the genocide of Palestinians. And it's no accident that some of the same people who were behind pushing her out, Ackman himself, Summers himself, whole host of Bloom and others who have been against affirmative action, they also won't say a mumbling word about the genocide against Palestinians. Well, so would you tell me you're concerned about genocide? Have you said a mumbling word about the genocide against Palestinians, brother? Have you said a word against the Palestinians?
I'll tell you right now.
The genocide Palestinians. I want to hear you say a word.
Had the elected leaders in Gaza not committed the act of murder and terror against 14.
So this is Sean Hannity. He's deflecting here. He doesn't want to answer the question, has he condemned the genocide against the Palestinians? Because the answer to that question is no, he has not. Again, these people, these networks are working for the state of Israel. They are going with their narrative.
Israelis
against genocide, the equivalent of 40,000
against the Irish,
which would be the equivalent of 40,000 Americans. Let me tell you something. If anyone killed 40,000 Americans in a day, I would want to fight and win the war. They started that fight. They're the ones that use innocent people as human shields. They had their headquarters under a hospital.
10,000 children in 2 months, brother. You come from an Irish.
Sean Hannity, see, this is the thing. Sean Hannity is not a journalist. Sean Hannity is entertainment. And you can tell by the way that he does the delivery. And again, notice what he did. Notice what I told you about the propaganda. They're the ones that started it. He's going to start with October 7th instead of focusing on what happened before October 7th. They did this with Afghanistan. They did this with Russia and Ukraine. This is important for people to understand. They don't want you to know the history. They don't want you to know the truth. They only want to push forward the message that the State Department is telling them to push and what's approved by the state of Israel. And we need to start looking into this. Who's funding Fox? Yes, we know Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch is on the side of Israel.
People who've been treated.
What do you want? What do you expect Israel to do?
About it.
What do you expect? Israel was a victim of terror, and you were blaming the victim.
Siege and in the occupation. You end the siege and in the occupation.
Excuse me, it's not an occupation.
See this? You see what's happening here? See, I told you, they've already been told if the guest comes on and they call out occupation, you push back and you say there is no occupation. They all have the same talking points. It's just with all the wars that I've seen in my lifetime, I don't understand how people can sit back and listen to mainstream media and not question all of the wars based on what we've been told. We were lied to about the war in Iraq. They lied about Afghanistan. They lied about Saddam Hussein. So for some crazy reason, people like Sean believe, oh, maybe they're telling the truth now. And I don't even really believe, thinking about it, that Sean believes that. I think Sean knows the truth. Sean is an actor. He is playing a part. And as long as Sean continues to play that part, Sean will continue to get paid by Fox News. That's how this works. You can't tell me these people have been doing this for all these years and they don't look behind the scenes to see what else is happening. They know the damn truth. So he goes on to say, there is no occupation. Typical playbook.
You expect Israel was a victim of terror, and you were blaming the victim.
Siege and in the occupation. You end the siege and in the occupation.
Excuse me, it's not an occupation. Israel has not occupied Gaza for many. Haven't been in there for many years.
Oh, no,
they've offered them money. They've offered them aid.
No, brother. No, no.
I've been there.
Cuckoo land. You live in cuckoo land. There's no occupation.
Cuckoo land is where you live.
Come on.
No. Well, if you look at these, where did the money for the
no, let's get back to occupation. Let's talk about occupation.
The money from the terror tunnels occupation? Professor, you gotta.
It's hard to proceed.
Let me ask the question.
It's hard to proceed, my brother.
See, this is how you talk to Sean Hannity. Because now Cornel West basically pushed him in a corner, and Sean Hannity is the one saying, let me ask a question. Let me ask the question. Usually it's the other way around. Usually Sean Hannity doesn't let the guest speak. I've seen this even with people that he supposedly likes. I've seen him do this to Republicans too. They come onto the show and he doesn't want to let them talk. This is how anyone watching, if you go onto Sean Hannity's show, this is how you talk to Sean Hannity. You cannot be nice to him. You cannot try to, chat it up with him. You have to continue talking. You have to interrupt him before he tries to interrupt you. Then you push him in a corner, and now he's like, will you let me ask the question?
It's hard to proceed.
Where did the money from for the tunnels of terror, where did that come from? Where did the electricity come from? That came from America. That came from Israel to better the life and the people of Gaza. But
the tunnels that were built under Al-Shifa Hospital were built by Israel. It's just, you know, you can see the acting. Look at it.
Hamas, the terrorist group that has sworn the destruction of Israel, used that money, built their hospital, built their command centers onto hospitals. They fired their missiles from schools and hospitals, and they used all the people in Gaza as human shields. They committed acts of terror. They started a war, and they're losing the war.
Defend Hamas. Hamas commits crimes against people. I'm asking you to tell the truth. If people cut off water, if people cut off electricity, and cut off food, and you say there's no occupation. If people control air and sea and land and there's no occupation, you don't want to listen to the truth.
There's no occupation.
You don't want to listen to the truth.
It's factual. You're factually inaccurate. I'm going to ask you a last question.
You're wrong as two left shoes,
Harry Truman used.
How is there no occupation when the people can't even leave? How is there no occupation, Sean Hannity, when the people can't even leave Gaza? They're fenced in, but there's no occupation. There's no oppression when Israel controls all the resources that go into Gaza. Stop sitting here and pretending like the Palestinians in Gaza are free people. They're not free. Free people can walk out the door. Free people are fenced in. And you can point to the same with the West Bank. How's there no occupation? You don't see these people being dragged out of their homes. And Israel is still building illegal settlements in the West Bank. Nobody is stopping it. Nobody. The UN, with all these long ass letters that they like to write. Nobody stopped it. It has gotten to the point now where people are saying it's the IDF. It's not just the IDF. If you look at the videos in the West Bank, there are actual Israeli citizens who have taken up firearms to push the people out. Not everybody that you see on the video with firearms are a part of the IDF. This is another thing that has been revealed. But there's no occupation. Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
2 bombs, one in Hiroshima and one in Nagasaki. It ended World War II against Japan. Let me ask you, is that the right decision?
Those were war crimes, my brother. I am consistent. And we need to sit down and have a long discussion of what an occupation is, because you come from an occupied people, and you ought to be ashamed that you can't point out well occupation when other people are occupied.
You are.
And this is another good point to mention. Extra info. Did Sabby just say that Israel built the tunnels in Gaza? Does she really believe that? I said, in reference to the hospital, the Al-Shifa hospital, Israel built those tunnels under the hospital. This was confirmed by an Israeli representative on CNN. And Christine, the commentator, was so shocked by that, she had to ask the question again. Excuse me, did you say that Israel built those tunnels under the hospital? And he said, yes. Learn how to listen. I'm not taking any heat today. I'm going to let you know right now. I'm not taking any heat today. It's 2024. You come correct or you go to fuck home. Let me let this finish.
Are better than using the race card. Dr. Gay, she was guilty.
That's not the race
not
card.
only giving the wrong answer,
the truth,
she was
brother.
giving aid and comfort to people. She was giving aid and comfort.
N-word against her. That ain't no race card. That's her life. That's her life. That's her loved one's life.
I condemn anybody. I condemn anybody that did that. You know me.
I want to hear the condemnation. I want to hear that condemnation. I just want to hear it, my brother, because I know you got something good in you. I'm trying to tease it out.
She had an opportunity to condemn those She had an opportunity to condemn those and speak out against those that were responsible for murdering innocent people, and she equivocated.
But that doesn't mean she's not anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitism is not running large at Harvard, brother.
If she's that weak, she has no
fight is not running wild.
If she's that weak, she has no business running Harvard. But
she's not running Harvard. She was never running Harvard. None of the presidents of these universities are actually running the university. Donors run the university. Bill Ackman is one of the examples you can point to show you that. You had donors like Bill Ackman, Jeffrey Epstein, threatening to withhold donations. Another story that came out about Bill Ackman too, in reference to another run-in that he had with Claudine Gray. It wasn't just about this particular issue. Something else had already happened before in reference to donations. He wasn't too happy about Harvard not including him in certain spaces. So he felt like, I gave you money, so now you need to listen to what I say to do. So this wasn't a new issue. That has now come out. So it is what it is, folks. But these universities are not run by the presidents. They are run by donors, by big money. Harvard Business School, another one. You have people like Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots. They donate to these schools. Michael Bloomberg donates to Harvard. And of course, people like Bill Ackman. Those are the people that run the institution, not the president. The president is a puppet. And as you just saw, they could easily have those people removed as well. Sean Hannity knows this shit, man. Pardon my language. Sean Hannity knows this. He's such an actor, man. Such a freaking actor. But you guys see what's happening here. They're continuing to repeat the lie over and over and over. And it'll be 10, 15 years from now when these commentators, these pundits finally get the green light and they finally acknowledge, oh, it turns out by the way, that definition wasn't anti-Semitic. It turns out, by the way, that Israel did do these crimes. He had the audacity to bring up Hiroshima. We were supposed to learn from Hiroshima, Sean. We're not supposed to repeat it. But he'll tell you not to do this in reference to Ukraine. He'll say, let's get out of this. But when you change the country to Israel, all of a sudden, it's okay.